There are lessons in life that, if we do not learn early, we may regret for a lifetime. I once thought that success, money, or fame would bring happiness, but after many years, I realized that true happiness comes from simple things, from how we live, and from appreciating every moment. I remember evenings cooking with my family, afternoons strolling through the city with friends, or quiet moments reading alone. Those seemingly small things brought me profound and lasting joy beyond any achievement. Happiness is not about possession, but about feeling it and spreading value to those around us. I once participated in a community project helping underprivileged children attend school, and the feeling when I saw their smiles, their growing confidence day by day, made me realize that the greatest joy does not come from receiving, but from giving. Life also taught me that mental health is more important than anything else. I have experienced periods of stress and pressure from work and life that left me exhausted, unfocused, and prone to mistakes. I learned that repressing emotions comes at a cost. Instead, we must recognize, understand, and deal with them healthily. Once, I faced a conflict at work, and if I had erupted in anger, things could have worsened, but I chose to remain calm, listen, analyze the situation, and seek a common solution. In the end, not only was the relationship maintained, but I also realized that controlling emotions is the key to staying clear-headed and making correct decisions. Failure is a word many fear, but I learned that it is the greatest teacher if we know how to learn from it. I once participated in a startup competition, and my project was eliminated in the first round. Initially, I felt disappointed and thought I had wasted my time, but after calmly reviewing it, I drew many valuable lessons. Thanks to that, my subsequent projects were not only successful but also brought greater value. Failure is not the end but a stepping stone that helps us grow. Practice patience and develop problem-solving skills. The important thing is not to fear failure, but to fear not learning from it. Life is always changing, and how we adapt determines the quality of our experiences. I used to resist changes, trying to keep everything as familiar as possible, but the result was stress and boredom. When I learned to accept changes, find opportunities in difficulties, and adjust plans, I felt more confident, flexible, and achieved goals more easily. Once, my company faced a market crisis, and many projects had to be halted. If I had seen it negatively, I would have been anxious and lost. But seeing it as an opportunity to learn and try new ideas, I not only maintained my position but also created extraordinary value. Time is the most precious thing. It cannot be bought or extended. I once wasted countless hours worrying, comparing, or procrastinating important matters. When I began to live more consciously, plan, and prioritize what truly mattered, I felt that life had a rhythm, productivity, and happiness. I spent each morning writing in my journal and making to-do lists instead of scrolling through social media, and I realized that my energy and focus were used far more effectively. Gratitude is also a key to a fulfilling life. By focusing on what I have rather than what I lack, I realized that joy and satisfaction do not come from external sources but from how we perceive life. Each evening, I wrote down 3 things I was grateful for, from delicious meals, the smiles of loved ones, to peaceful moments at work. Gradually, this habit reduced stress, focused me on the positive, and increased my happiness. Another important lesson I learned is the value of silence. In a busy society, we are often swept away by social media, news, or work pressure. I once felt overwhelmed and exhausted to the point of losing focus and creativity when I began to spend time in silence walking alone, meditating, or simply sitting quietly observing the world. I realized that many thoughts and emotions were arranged more clearly, and creative solutions emerged naturally. A concrete example: in a complex project, I seemed stuck, but just a few days of quiet reflection helped me find a new, reasonable, and effective approach. Learning from others is also a significant lesson. I once ignored advice from experienced people, thinking I knew enough, but as a result, I made many mistakes that could have been avoided. When I started listening, observing, and applying others' experiences, I realized that progress came faster, risks decreased, and knowledge expanded. For example, a friend experienced in business shared how to handle a customer crisis. Instead of experimenting and making mistakes myself, I applied their method and succeeded, realizing that learning from others saves time and avoids missteps. Life is a long journey, where each passing day carries priceless lessons, moments of joy and sorrow, and challenges that demand growth. When I was young, I often got lost in others' expectations, chasing social standards while forgetting to ask myself, what do I truly want? What am I living for? As a result, I often felt confused, stressed, and sometimes hopeless. I vividly remember the early days of my career, when I placed all my hope and energy into uncertain opportunities. I experienced failure, rejection, betrayal, and those feelings seemed to collapse my world. But later, I realized that failure is an inevitable part of growing up. Every mistake carries its own lesson, and every stumble creates an opportunity for resilience, learning, and understanding my true value. I once thought success came only to the lucky, but gradually I realized that success is not luck, but preparation, perseverance, and the ability to learn from every experience. There were times I chased projects and opportunities beyond my control, only to realize that I had missed the most important thing: personal growth and self-understanding. When I prioritized self-improvement first, opportunities naturally came at the right time, with the right people, and meaningful value. One of the most profound lessons I learned is that self-worth does not come from others' recognition, but from self-evaluation, self-respect, and personal development. I once tried to please everyone: family, friends, colleagues, but I ended up exhausted, lost, and sometimes losing myself. When I began setting personal boundaries, learning to say no when necessary, and choosing quality relationships over quantity, I felt freer than ever. I realized that freedom is not doing whatever you want, but living according to your values without being influenced by others' expectations. I recall a close friend who always measured their worth by others' recognition. They chased trends and tried to please everyone, only to realize that they had lost themselves when they started focusing on personal values, self-care, and pursuing goals based on passion and ability. They finally found true happiness and confidence. Failure is always an indispensable part of life. I lost many opportunities, was betrayed, and deeply disappointed. But those failures taught me that every mistake has value if we know how to learn from it. I have started multiple businesses, lost money, been misunderstood by colleagues, yet each time, I practiced patience, problem-solving skills, and adaptability. For example, in an important project, my team failed to meet the client's expectations. Instead of giving up, we analyzed each error, learned to communicate better, and adjusted workflows. The result: the next project succeeded and built long-term trust with the client. We realized that failure is the foundation for success if you learn from it. I also learned that emotions and thoughts play a crucial role in every decision. Whenever I let emotions dominate reason, results often fell short. When I learned to balance emotions, think before acting, and observe situations objectively, I became more effective and less regretful. Awareness of time and life's finiteness completely changed how I live. Understanding life is limited and each moment precious, I began to cherish the present, take action without delay, and express love sincerely to those around me. I once lost a close friend due to minor misunderstandings and delaying an apology. That gap taught me not to postpone important things because time waits for no one. When you value the present and live consciously, you not only reduce regrets but also enjoy life fully. Love is also one of the deepest and most complex human experiences. I once thought love was only about happiness, joy, and closeness, but over time, I realized love requires responsibility, maturity, and mutual understanding. I once had a long relationship where I constantly tried to please my partner, sacrificing time, personal interests, even my values. Initially, I thought this was how to sustain love, but I ended up exhausted, stressed, and gradually losing myself. I realized a sustainable relationship cannot be built on losing oneself but must be based on respect, understanding, and empathy. Another example is my close friend, who chose a partner only because family and friends approved. Despite being unsure herself, after a few years, she realized the relationship did not bring lasting happiness. When she focused on personal growth, pursued her passions, and prioritized self-value, she met the right partner, a true companion, not someone who diminished her identity. The lesson: love is not chasing temporary feelings but walking together on the path of growth. I also learned that sometimes solitude is necessary to find oneself. When you are unclear about your own value, you may get caught in wrong relationships or confuse love with emotional dependency. Solitude is an opportunity to reflect, learn self-love, and prepare for healthier relationships. Family is the first foundation for forming values and character. I once underestimated family relationships when I was young, thinking independence was paramount. But as I matured, I realized family, though not perfect, teaches unconditional love, forgiveness, and responsibility. I remember evenings talking with my parents, sometimes in heated debates, but these conversations taught me to listen, be patient, and understand differing perspectives. For example, when I failed at work, my parents not only comforted me but helped analyze the situation, draw lessons, and continue moving forward. From that, I learned family is a source of motivation and valuable life experience. Friends also play an important role, but I realized quality matters more than quantity. I once tried to meet as many people as possible, seeking everyone's approval, but eventually realized that only those who share values and goals help you grow. I learned to choose friends wisely, realizing that a small but quality circle brings less trouble and more growth opportunities. For example, I have a friend with whom I have collaborated on many business projects. We exchange ideas openly, share experiences, and support each other in difficulties. This relationship not only helped me progress professionally, but also provided peace of mind and real joy. Career and finance are important in shaping life, but I once misjudged their true value. As a young person, I pursued work solely for high salary, fame, or others' expectations. I ignored passion, personal growth, and ended up feeling empty. Later, I learned that a career should be based on personal values, interests, and meaningful contribution, not just a salary number. For example, when I decided to leave a stable but passionless job, I initially faced difficulties: loss of income, doubts, but focusing on learning, improving skills, and working on meaningful projects, results exceeded expectations. I learned that sustainable success comes not from chasing fame but from consistency and passion. Personal finance is also a major lesson. I once spent recklessly, shopping to impress, and constantly worried about money. When I learned to manage a budget, save, and invest in myself, I felt more secure and create new opportunities. I realized money is a tool, not a goal, and how you use it determines life's quality. Happiness is not a destination but the journey you experience each day. I once thought happiness came from big achievements, luxury, or others' recognition, but experience has shown that true happiness comes from simplicity, appreciating the present, and feeling inner peace. A typical example: I once spent months chasing a project that seemed to change my career, neglecting friends, family, and health. When the project ended, even though successful, I felt exhausted and empty. Conversely, evenings cooking with family, walking with friends, or reading leisurely brought me deep and lasting joy. The lesson: cherish small and simple moments, for they create true happiness. Happiness also comes from helping others. I once participated in a community project helping children access education. Seeing their smiles and progress gave me joy that money or fame cannot provide. This taught me that happiness is not about possessing but giving and spreading value. Mental health is also the foundation of all success and happiness. I once went through stressful periods with work pressure, feeling mentally exhausted. Then I realized that I could not continue living while ignoring emotions, stress, and inner pressure. In a business project, I faced pressure from clients, colleagues, and myself. Initially, I tried to suppress emotions, but stress accumulated, focus was lost, and mistakes occurred. When I learned to identify emotions, share, and handle stress healthily, work efficiency improved, and I felt relieved. Managing emotions is a crucial skill. I learned that not every emotion needs immediate action. Instead of reacting hastily, listen, observe, and analyze. For example, I was once angry with a colleague over a misunderstanding. Had I erupted, the relationship could have been ruined. Instead, I calmly discussed, explained my perspective, and found a solution together. The result, the relationship improved, and I learned the value of patience and emotional control. Failure is a strict but valuable teacher. I have experienced many failures in career, personal projects, and relationships. Each time, feelings of disappointment and despair appeared, but looking back, I saw that failure taught me patience, determination, and problem-solving skills. A memorable story: I participated in a major startup competition. My project was eliminated in the first round due to insufficient preparation. Initially, I felt disappointed, thinking I had wasted time. Later, I reviewed feedback, improved the plan, and applied it to a new project. Eventually, the project succeeded beyond expectations. The lesson: failure is not the end but preparation for success. Additionally, I learned that one should not fear failure but fear not learning from it. People who avoid failure by not challenging themselves often miss growth opportunities. When I dared to take risks, I learned valuable lessons and became more adaptable in every situation. Life is always changing, and how you adapt determines life quality. I once resisted change, trying to maintain the familiar, but ended up stressed and frustrated. When I learned to accept change, find opportunities in challenges, and adjust plans flexibly, I felt more confident and achieved goals more easily. At my company, a market crisis led to many project cancellations. Initially, I was confused and lost, but when I saw this as a chance to learn, restructure, and experiment with new ideas, I not only maintained my position but created new value for the company. I realized that change is not the enemy but an opportunity for growth. Time is the most precious asset. No one can buy or extend it. I once wasted hours and days worrying about unimportant things or postponing necessary tasks. When I learned to prioritize, focus on important matters, and live consciously moment by moment, life felt meaningful and efficient. An illustrative story: I once postponed learning an important skill, thinking there was plenty of time. Realizing time flies and opportunities wait for no one, I started learning immediately. After a few months, that skill opened important career opportunities. The lesson: act now, because time never returns. Everyone seeks life's meaning in their own way. I once thought meaning came from achievement, fame, or money, but experience taught me that life is meaningful when you create value, help others, and live by your values. For example, a teacher I met dedicated his life to teaching and helping students, though he was neither wealthy nor famous. Seeing how he lived, I realized that positively impacting others is life's greatest meaning. Gratitude is the key to lasting happiness. I once focused on what I lacked, leading to dissatisfaction. When I began recognizing and appreciating what I had: health, family, friends, and opportunities, I found life brighter. For example, every evening, I listed 3 things I was grateful for. Initially, they were small things: a good meal, a joyful conversation, or a peaceful moment. Gradually, this habit focused me on positivity, reduced stress, and increased life satisfaction. Death is inevitable, and facing it helps me live fully. When I lost a loved one, I realized that we often miss opportunities to express affection, forgive, or love because we think there is still time. The lesson: live so as not to regret. Love and cherish the present, because no one knows what tomorrow holds. A small action today, like expressing love or helping someone, can leave a lasting impact. Spiritual maturity does not come from age but from experience. Reflection: And learning. I once made mistakes, failed, and was hurt, but those experiences taught patience, courage, and the ability to forgive. I was once betrayed at work, and the anger lasted months. Instead of letting it dominate, I learned to see it as a lesson, focus on self-development, and thus became stronger and clearer in future decisions. Silence helps me perceive myself and the world deeply. I once felt pressured by work, social media, and the fast-paced life, leading to stress and fatigue. When I began spending time in silence meditating, walking alone, or simply sitting still, I realized that thoughts, emotions, and solutions became clearer. For example, in a complex project, I faced many difficulties and conflicts. After a few days of rest and quiet, I found a creative solution that I had not considered before. From this, I learned that sometimes observing and remaining silent is more valuable than speaking much or acting hastily. Everyone we meet can be a teacher if we know how to listen. I once ignored advice from experienced people, thinking I knew enough, but as a result, I made avoidable mistakes. When I began to pay attention, listen, and apply others' experiences, I saved time, reduced risks, and developed faster. For example, a friend experienced in business shared how to handle a client crisis. Instead of experimenting and making mistakes myself, I applied the method and succeeded. The lesson: treat everyone you meet as an opportunity to learn. Time never returns, and how you use it determines life's quality. I once wasted hours on meaningless things, arguments, comparisons, or irrational worries. When I began planning, prioritizing important matters, and living consciously, I felt more productive and happier. Life, from the outside, may seem complicated and full of challenges, but if we pause, take a deep breath, and observe carefully, we realize that everything happens with its own meaning. Every experience, whether joyful or painful, is a stepping stone to a better version of ourselves. Looking back, I see I have missed many opportunities, felt disappointed by failures, and been hurt by words and actions of others. But those moments, those tears, sleepless nights, taught me to cherish life, to forgive, and to understand that happiness does not come from outside but from the soul itself. I learned that no one can completely control their life, but we can control how we react to situations. Failure is not an end but an opportunity to learn and grow. Each time I fell, I learned to stand stronger, wiser, and more patient. Life taught me that resilience is not about avoiding difficulties but facing them with courage, learning from mistakes, and growing from them. I also realized that the people around me influence my mindset and growth more than I initially thought. Some relationships are supportive, motivating, and bring out the best in you. Others may drain energy, cause confusion, or slow your progress. I learned to recognize which relationships are worth investing in and which ones to let go of. For example, I once had colleagues who constantly complained and criticized everything. Spending too much time with them made me doubt myself and my abilities. Once I distanced myself and focused on constructive connections, I felt more confident, productive, and joyful. Life is a combination of planning and flexibility. I once tried to control everything to perfection, thinking that would guarantee success. Instead, I often felt frustrated when unexpected changes occurred. Later, I realized that while planning is essential, adaptability is equally crucial. Opportunities often come in forms we do not anticipate, and those who can adjust quickly are the ones who succeed. I also learned the importance of personal responsibility. Blaming circumstances or others may temporarily relieve stress, but it does not solve problems or improve oneself. Each mistake is an opportunity to reflect and act better next time. For instance, when a project failed due to my oversight, I initially wanted to blame external factors, but by taking full responsibility and analyzing my mistakes, I not only corrected the problem but also gained respect for my team. Over the years, I understood that success is not measured solely by material achievements, but by growth, relationships, and inner peace. Money, fame, or power can fade. But knowledge, skills, character, and the ability to love and help others endure. I also learned to embrace simplicity. I used to chase luxury, status, and recognition, thinking that would make me happy. Yet, I found that true contentment comes from appreciating small joys: a warm meal, a kind word, a peaceful moment, or a laugh shared with a friend. Happiness is found in these everyday experiences, not in extravagant displays. Forgiveness is another invaluable lesson. Holding grudges only prolongs suffering. I once felt deep resentment towards someone who wronged me. Over time, I realized that forgiving is not for them but for my own peace of mind. Once I forgave, I felt lighter, freer, and better able to focus on my own growth. I also learned that learning never stops. Every day presents opportunities to gain knowledge, refine skills, and improve oneself. I once thought that after completing my education or reaching career milestones, I had learned enough. But life has continually taught me lessons, from unexpected failures, interactions with people, to the simple observation of nature and society. Those who stop learning remain stagnant, while those who embrace lifelong learning grow continuously. Life taught me that patience is crucial. We live in a fast-paced world, where immediate results are expected, yet many valuable achievements require time, effort, and perseverance. I once grew impatient with a long-term project, wanting quick results. When I slowed down, focused, and persisted, the outcomes far exceeded my initial expectations. I realized that clarity of purpose shapes decisions in life's path. When goals are unclear or dictated by others' expectations, confusion and frustration follow. I took the time to reflect, define personal values, and set meaningful goals aligned with my abilities and passions. This clarity allowed me to focus energy, avoid distractions, and pursue life with confidence. I also learned the value of expressing gratitude, love, and appreciation. I once assumed that people around me knew I cared, but time showed that unspoken affection and appreciation can lead to regret. I began expressing gratitude daily, thanking family, friends, colleagues, and even strangers. This practice strengthened relationships, deepened bonds, and enhanced life's meaning. Facing challenges strengthened my resilience and character. I once faced professional setbacks, personal disappointments, and emotional struggles. Instead of avoiding or fearing them, I approached each challenge as an opportunity to test limits, adapt, and grow stronger. Every obstacle overcame strengthened confidence and provided new insights into problem-solving and emotional management. Finally, I learned that life is finite, unpredictable, and precious. Every day is an opportunity to live consciously, love sincerely, pursue passions, and make a positive impact. I no longer postpone meaningful actions, delay apologies, or hesitate to express love. Life is too short for regrets, so I strive to live fully, consciously, and with intention. In summary, the lessons life has taught me can be condensed into several principles. Happiness comes from simple joys and giving, not possessions. Emotional intelligence is crucial for personal and professional growth. Failure is a teacher, not a punishment. Adaptability and resilience shape life's outcomes. Time is precious. Act now rather than wait. Gratitude, forgiveness, and love enhance life's meaning. Learning never stops, and personal growth is continuous. Quality relationships, clarity of purpose, and self-respect define true success. These lessons are not theoretical, they come from lived experience. Mistakes, reflection, and conscious effort, they guide daily decisions, influence interactions, and shape the path toward a fulfilling and meaningful life. Life is a journey of continuous learning, growth, and discovery. Every setback, triumph, interaction, and moment of reflection adds layers to who we are. Embracing these lessons, practicing self-awareness, and cultivating resilience allow one not only to survive but to thrive. I strive to live each day with awareness, gratitude, and purpose, understanding that each moment is an opportunity to learn, love, and grow. So, love yourself, be grateful, cherish those around you, and live each day as if it is your only chance. Be patient, be courageous, and trust that every challenge leads to a better version of yourself. Life is not perfect, but its imperfection makes it worth living, precious, and to be treasured. Wishing everyone a good night, sweet dreams, and a morning full of energy to